So, well, good morning, everybody. It's nice to see you. We have some, I've got a number of things we can talk about, which if we get to it today, great. If not, we'll get to them, next month. And I will also mention that, as always, there is the marketing channel on Slack where these discussions can be ongoing. So please feel free to take advantage of that. Good morning, David. David, it looks like you're being interrogated there if you move your head to one side. So today we do have a bit of a theme, which is lead generation, and we've got two experts coming in. Expert peers, I should add. So they're doing what we're all doing, to talk about things they've been doing that have been working well. And I've got. I'm sorry.
I can't hear.
Okay. Oh, David, we can hear you but not see you anymore. David Burns. But first I wanted to introduce Jonathan Ray, who is with Access Intelligence, and Lisa McInturff, who is with BVR. And I know we've got some other BVR folks here. And Jonathan or Lisa, did one of you have a preference to start?
I think, Lisa, we had talked about you going first, so it's all yours.
That's what I thought I saw, but I didn't want to presume. So,
yeah, no problem.
So Lisa, have at it.
All right. Well, I think we kind of took it as just a talk about lead gen and how talk a little bit about what BVR has been doing. It's been a little bit of an evolution over the past couple of years, definitely. Obviously, we always want to keep an eye on lead gen, but I thought maybe just most of you probably know, but just to kind of set the stage a little bit about, BVR, our structure and our products that influences how we approach our lead gen. So at BVR, we have, we sell product subscriptions, yearly subscriptions to databases. We have books and guides, so one-off publications. And we also have a training line of webinars, some workshops. We have done live conferences. It's been interesting this last year, obviously, with that, but pricing ranges anywhere from $50 from a single article purchase on up to a package, our BV Research Pro at just under $1,600. So we've got a range of pricing. We sell via the website. We also have a sales team. And our sales team currently consists of 6 individuals. And I'll tell a little bit more about how that's arranged. And then we've got a marketing group that we've got basically 2.5 people that are supporting our marketing efforts. So I think it's important as you look at what you want to do with lead gen efforts is you kind of take a look at also the resources that you have available to make these things happen.
Hello. Hey, David Burns, your microphone is working, and you might want to mute. Can you hear us?
Mute.
Sorry, Lisa.
No problem.
He was counting the leads coming in.
Yes, there we go. And I do want to underscore David's point. Testing is always a good thing. So test. And by the way, Lisa, before I turn it back to you, I want to mention there's a chat box here. People can speak up, but particularly while you two are talking, if you have questions or whatever, I will be monitoring the chat box, and so we'll look for opportunities there. So please feel free to post things in there, questions, answers, whatever. So Lisa, I'll turn it back over to you.
Cool. So so that I think it's important to look at your resources, what you have to work with. And so at BVR, we definitely, as our business continues to our core market mature, definitely more focus on leads is important because we want to squeak out as many new sales as we can. And so we looked at kind of how we were currently doing things. And before we had a smaller sales team that they did everything. They did new sales, they did renewals, they did, a lot more kind of like the account maintenance And so they weren't truly necessarily focused on the new sales. And so kind of looking at how you have that structured, we decided to bring in and create a team environment for each of the territories that we have. We have 3 sales territories that are broken down basically via geographic location. And so what we've done is we've arranged our sales team so that we have a senior account manager, an account specialist, and they work the territory together as a team, really try to instill, they've each got a role to play to make that successful. And with that, we've kind of divvied up. We want to keep the senior account manager focused on new sales and add-on sales with our current customers. So the sales team is also responsible for a significant number of renewals. And so we've pushed some of the renewal work back to the account specialist. We have ratings that we put on for our customers. And typically we have A, B, C, and D accounts. And typically the account specialist will work the C and Ds. If they uncover as working those that, the firm's growing or there's new people added or different interests come up, then they can kick that up to the senior account manager, kind of as an internal like sales lead gen per se with current customers. So they're responsible for working together to kind of keep that communication open and jump on any opportunities there. So with that, we look at our lead gen in a couple of pronged approach, both lead gen related to our current customers for the add-on sales, as well as lead gen for brand new customers, first-time buyers at BVR. So with those kind of 2 areas, we have developed a few things that we use to feed both of those areas. And I think it's also as you come up with the activities that you're going to do, it's important also to make sure you've got buy-in by both sides with the sales team on what they're going to be receiving, what the expectation is as they do with those leads, as well as with marketing to understand why they might think this is a really hot lead and push it over to sales and why it may not be, and sales doesn't want to do that, because if you flood sales with low quality leads, they're just going to, have an excuse and move on to something else. So really getting that buy-in and making sure both sides understand what the goals are and why such leads are being pushed over or why they're being kept to nurture by marketing. So with our existing customers, we do things such as we provide weekly reports to our sales team of sales that go through our online store. So they can see, like, if we've gotten a first-time buyer through our online store, it's important for the sales team to reach out. Oftentimes, the first product purchase will be a single search of one of our databases or an individual publication. And we have programs that people can apply a single search into a full subscription. We definitely want to at least let them know the purchase options so that they could upgrade. Also, with some of our products, we have pricing discounts that are not published on our website to add additional users. And so that's a way to add on new sales at a discounted price. And so that's what sales works in order to increase the revenue at a firm. And then we also we provide usage reports of people that are using our products, our databases and searches. That has in the past uncovered a few where people were being creative and sharing accounts. And so using that to maximize adding on additional licenses to add to the firm value. We also use Pardot as our marketing automation system. And we, with that, the sales team gets daily reports of activity of people, of prospects on our website. So they can see pages being visited, forms being filled out, just all interactions, and we score. We provide scoring for our prospects and our customers so that they can quickly look over a report, identify those that have a higher score. They can look and see if they're a current customer or is it someone else that they want to go after for an add-on sale on a particular product, that type of thing. So those are what we do, kind of really to focus on our current customers and trying to expand and get those add-on sales. And then for the elusive new customer in our market, it's a mature market, and there's not a ton of new valuation organizations coming online. So, but any new name is valuable to work that. So I think probably everybody, use your content on your website for free downloads and get a system in place where you can make sure you're capturing those names. They might not be ready necessarily to go over to the sales team right away. So you can have nurturing programs to warm those up so that the engagement gets to a point, depending on what you've decided between sales and marketing conversations about, well, it's a hot lead if it goes and it visited, downloads a sample and it does this other thing. And we can set up automation in our system to kick things over to the sales team based on, the agreed upon actions that we want to see people take. So use your content, blogs, definitely. We're doing a little bit more of that now, using content. Some of it we'll just give away for free. You don't need to register and download. Others, we're being a little bit more strategic about that. Again, that's a conversation that we're looking to have with the sales team on what they've seen when they've had conversations with customers, what's been of value, and we want to mimic that and get more of that to them. Free trials are a little bit hard for us when it comes to databases because of the value of the data. Like if we let them in right there, they could do what they need to do for their engagement in a trial time period and be done with it. So there's a couple of products that we've been able to modify the data that they have access to so that they can at least get a sense of the functionality of the database and know they just don't have the up-to-date information. So that's one way too. It's kind of nice to offer that up as a way to get new names. Customers feel better. They don't have to necessarily talk to a salesman right away, but at least we get their name and we can see what they've been doing. And then LinkedIn is always a good one. Within our market, people will move firms. So they'll be at this one and then they'll leave. We'll get notification from the firm that we have the licenses with. Oh, so-and-so left. Now we need to transfer the license to, Jane. And so we've had a couple of salespeople that are really successful in stalking on LinkedIn and finding those people and tracking them down at their new firm. And then starting the conversation there about resources and adding those on. We also make use of Google Alerts. We set up some terms and so we know when like new firms or when they're merging with other firms, and that gets fed to the sales team. We also kind of publish that in our easing. So we're giving, the firms kind of some visibility. So it's a good feel good for them as well. But we're also using that, to try to increase our sales. And then just again, Pardot, our marketing automation system, trying to maximize whatever we can, targeting automations for specific pages on our website that the sales team feels like if someone's there, I want to talk to anybody who gets to this point on our website. So it's not one thing that we're doing, it's all of these pieces to come together to really cover as many bases as we can, and not formalizing things too much so that we get bogged down in processes, to kind of keep it flowing and then check back what's working, what's not, what should we drop and what should we add on. So that's a lot, but that's overall what we're doing.
That is a lot, Lisa. Thank you. That's great. And we've got some questions here, if I can ask before I pass it over to Jonathan, just while they're fresh. Kicking that off, Lloyd had asked, how are you rating the accounts? You mentioned you rate the accounts A, B, C, D. What's the criteria? I know that's a really fun little detail you have to determine. David's talked about all the fun he's had doing that over the years with the various marketing automation systems you've had. So can you comment on that?
Yeah, so it's we have an initial baseline that starts with it is the value of the sales in there. So the way our renewals is, it's a little bit harder because sometimes people won't sync up all their subscription end dates to one time. So, but we will usually look each month. We provide list of renewals, but it's based on account value or value of that person. That's the baseline, and that'll give us the A, B, or C, or D. But on top of that, we have the sales team can identify firms that are growth or VIP. And if they're growth, then that can trump like a C or a D, because that, you know, the senior account manager has identified that that's a firm that they want to grow and they want to work. And so that kind of overrides giving that to the account specialist, because there's an expectation that they're going to really do more with that account on that. So it's a little bit of a layered approach, and it's not perfect, but that's what we start with.
All right. Yeah, thanks. And Anna, you had a great question, I thought, also building on what you had asked Lisa about, and if you'd care to frame it, otherwise I'm happy to read this.
Now, I'll be happy to quickly ask you,
Great.
How did you get your sales and marketing on the same page? How did you get them to openly tell you which leads are hot and which weren't? And like, I am very curious.
It was a little bit interesting. I guess, fortunate that I oversee both the sales and marketing teams. So I've got both groups under me, so I kind of can be the, you know, facilitate between the two. I think it's definitely part of it for the marketing team who wants to throw everybody who hits this page over. It's like giving them a day in the life of a salesperson, also making sure that they understand how the sales team works during their day, what their responsibilities are, so they can kind of see how the leads fit in to their flow. That, you know, they've got all these other areas, so we want to make sure that we give them the highest quality leads, and giving actual feedback, you know, having the two groups in the same room. You know, when they throw a name over, like, well, they clicked here and they clicked here, and then having the salesperson really go, that's great, we have a bunch of tire kickers, they do this all the time, this is more an example of what I'm looking for. And so making sure that marketing has that side, but then on the other side too, really having to push sales, because sales wants to go for, you know, the lowest hanging fruit. And sometimes working those leads, yes, it takes, you know, maybe they get a good one 1 out of 10 or so, but really helping them and driving them that that's their responsibility. You know, it would be great if they could hand pick everything, but we can't. We have to have some commitment from them that they're going to work these, and we're willing to get their feedback, but there's going to be times when we're going to push them like, no, you need to follow up with these.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. But by the way, I am here in the spacious, glorious offices of Renewed here on the top floor of the Eiffel Tower. We've taken office space there. But I only mention that because I don't usually use these green screen things. But as I turn my head, I keep noticing like I get these tumors that are growing on my hair because the green. It's very distracting to me. So,
also that you're working for Cabot Wealth.
Oh yeah, whoops.
Is it a new company you're starting?
I'll fix that too. It's a spinoff. It's a spinoff. So with that auspicious intro, Jonathan, you know, I like to put a little space between you and Lisa, so you don't, you know, it's not like you're, you know, following immediately. I think I've bought enough time for you that you can start with a clean slate here. And so Jonathan Ray, you know, have at it.
Sure, thank you. Yes, just you know, set the mood a little bit more. I'll go back to the more fun background on my side, so we'll take it to the beach. Yeah, so I wanted to share, and actually Jennifer Schwartz, who I believe is on the call, had asked me to join today to share some of the successes that we've seen from lead generation, or more specifically a lead nurturing solution that we've developed for our advertisers that we've had quite a bit of success with over the last couple of years. I'm going to share my screen here. And I'm actually going to walk through a deck that we use to present to our customers, but I think it'll help you guys grasp how these programs are sold and executed. So give me just a second here. Okay. Can you see the flow slide?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So just to kick things off really quick, this was a solution. It's specifically a content marketing solution that we developed for our advertisers that had greater needs for quality leads, and specifically what we have designed as a model to nurture leads through a communication process and funnel with a specific cadence that develops high quality leads. Last year was our best year yet with this solution. Between 4 large customers of ours and 10 distinct campaigns, we generated almost $500,000 from that effort. And so far this year, we've launched with 4 campaigns. So we're still seeing growth and increased interest from our customers. I'm sorry, was there a question? Oh, sorry. So this type of solution really is ideal for, if you have client or advertising customers that are in demand generation, or specific customers that have high interest in doing content marketing campaigns and have solid workflows in place to process leads or marketing qualified leads that we would deliver to them. They would be the ideal customers for this type of solution. So a lot of it really stemmed from conversations we were having with our clients that were asking questions towards the end of just standard lead gen campaigns. What do we do next? Where do we go from here? How can we increase the quality of these leads, or how can we go deeper? And a lot of these customers of ours would traditionally run distinct campaigns throughout the year, oftentimes not necessarily connected to the other, and these like blitzes to our audience. And so what we tried to develop was a more meaningful strategy that's tailored to each of them to help them meet their goals, but it's one where we partner together to leverage assets that they have, assets that we develop together, and we create a formula. It's a marketing formula to our audience. And oftentimes, in most cases, we're targeting specific segments to our audience to position these assets to them and ultimately get them to engage with multiple pieces of content and generating high levels of engagement and qualification. So this is usually where we start when we present the model to our customers, a very simple diagram that helps them wrap their minds around how do we put this strategy into place. And so with this model that we see here, it's a very linear approach to positioning 3 distinct content assets in a progression that starts off with trying to capture wide interest, as wide as we can, from the target audience. We activate messaging through all of our top performing marketing channels. So as you could imagine, advertising on our websites, off-site, retargeting, social media, email blasts. All of the messaging and marketing is driving traffic to landing pages that we're managing, that we've developed, that are hosting the assets. Sometimes these assets are open, like so on the front end of a campaign, we want to try to encourage as much engagement with the content as we can. And then as we move them through the funnel, we present deeper and deeper content and start to capture, if we don't already have their identity, we start to capture their identity through lead generation. So we really try to sell our customers on the idea of it's a tailored approach to marketing orchestration around the content assets and the strategy that we develop together. Another major piece to this type of solution, at least the way that we see it, is we want to take on as much of the build out, the creative development, as pretty much all of the logistics in terms of crafting the campaign experience for the audience and the execution to them is all managed in-house. So on the front end of a campaign, we will sit down with our customers to do an asset audit to see what we have to work with, to determine which assets we'll need to create together. And then once we have the assets in place, we'll then build all the creative around that and essentially map out a timeline and a schedule to deliver the campaign to our audience. So beyond the target, the segmentation that we would develop and agree to on the front end, we'll position the content assets within our websites, set up all of the targeted messages and multiple creatives across all channels, and work with our in-house services to develop all of that. The reporting is another kind of key aspect to just providing transparency throughout. So these customers that we're working with, they're much lengthier campaigns. On average, we would work with on a campaign for about 3 months. So typically sell these on the quarter and meet with our customers weekly to bi-weekly to talk through how performance is going, what kinds of engagement we're seeing across all channels, where we want to make adjustments. That's a big part of the pitch too. We really design the strategy to be flexible. So when we spot things that aren't working quite as well as we think they should, we recommend adjustments together. And I think that collaboration with our customers helps reinforce and strengthen the relationship that we have. It develops a lot more trust, and quite honestly, it's okay when things don't necessarily work out. We address it and implement some new strategy or new tactics, and we go on from there. I've shown this example, the kind of the shape and the makeup of each of these campaigns, it really depends on our customers' goals and what they're trying to accomplish. Some of these are, we're utilizing content that they have published to their own blogs, or they may have some white papers that they want to position to our audience. And this, I'll go back, this is kind of like that simple model that I had shared in the beginning, but they've also gotten quite complex, where we have a client that has unique, different solutions that they want to position to different segments of our audience. And we were able to activate a campaign to message to those distinct segments simultaneously without crossing over, getting outside of the established lanes. And we're able to generate leads, in this case for this client, to a point where we were able to sit down with them before our conference that we had last year and handpick the best leads that they wanted us to reach out to facilitate meetings for them at the event. And this is a very successful program. This model here, and again, I'm showing these different diagrams just to help show and to illustrate how different these programs have been and how we've tailored them to the customer's needs. This one's arguably one of our more successful models and clients that we've been working with. And in fact, last year we started at the beginning of the year with a campaign, and before the first campaign ended, we were already planning and had gotten the order in for the next campaign, and so on and so forth. So this was a 12-month active customer last year, and the model with them really is all about generating MQLs based on some scoring logic that they had shared with us from the outset of our relationship. We've established what the value of an engagement would be from our audience, with the messaging, with the assets, with the deeper assets. And so everything that we execute and all touch points with the audience is being scored. And when those engaged users reach a certain threshold, they convert as an MQL, and we deliver them directly to the client at that point. We most recently have been testing a new part of the process with this customer, whereby we are taking those MQLs that we've generated for them and are now implementing some telemarketing campaigns to further process them as a sales qualified lead. And what's interesting about that opportunity, and it's something that we're still kind of working to refine, but they've developed this trust with us that allows us to offer new creative ways for us to manage such an effort. So their own internal process for developing an SQL is it's a branded it's an effort where they're someone on their BDR team is going to reach out and is going to reference assets that they engage with, but present themselves as, hey, we're this client. From our perspective, and really what's helped us with all of these campaigns be as successful as they have been is it's a co-branded approach. And we're just finding that when we present ourselves as the brand and in partnership with the client, that there's a bit more credibility there. And by comparison, our engagement rates with outreach to the audience is higher when comparing to what the client is able to develop on their own. So it's been a very successful solution for us. It's one, like I said, that we're continuing to evolve and developing an internal strategy around. Who do we go after? Who should we be targeting within our client base to pitch this solution to? It's certainly not going to be for everyone. Like I said at the beginning of the presentation here, we're really going after larger customers that we know would have the budget, that would have content to market, that they value and already have a content marketing strategy in place. Looking for some of those customers that are already doing lead gen with us, that we want to take them to the next level and produce higher quality leads for them, and really selling them on the nurturing process. Just some quick logistical points. The way that we manage these campaigns once they are sold is a member of my team kind of functions as a project manager. We have a schedule that is developed and is coordinated with each of our clients. And once we agree on all of the dates for things, we then work with an outside agency on the marketing services. We have intentionally decided not to overburden our internal marketers with trying to execute the many aspects and messaging tactics with these campaigns. So we outsource the marketing fulfillment to an agency that we've been working with for a while now, and they've been doing an excellent job. So between the agency, the project manager, and the clients, we're meeting weekly, making adjustments and reviewing performance. And we've yet to miss a mark in terms of the goals that we set out for each of these campaigns. In fact, with a few of these, we had underestimated what we thought we could deliver. And for one particular customer that we agreed to have a pay for performance model with, we had written into our agreement that if we exceeded the goal on the MQLs that we delivered, that they would have to purchase the excess if they wanted them. And last year they purchased leads from us, 3 separate excess leads, MQLs, on 3 separate occasions. And the first time was for, I think it was like $47,000. So basically cut us a check for 47 grand for leads that we had already generated. So it's definitely producing a lot of good value. And the feedback that we get from, the sales teams that they're working with is that the quality is such that they want to kind of keep this strategy and kind of this mechanism in place to continue to feed their sales pipelines and their efforts. On the reporting side of things, and I can share this, this is an example of a dashboard that we create for each of the campaigns. We're using Google Data Studio for this. So the benefit of a report like this is when we send it to our customers, we send them the link and we just tell them to bookmark this. So as the data is refreshed, they simply could adjust the date range whenever. We usually have a drop down for the dates, but they could just adjust the date range and all of the data would update automatically. But we try to on the front end of the dashboard, try to help them just very quickly visualize how we are, the kind of reach that we're getting from the marketing, but also how we're moving people through the funnel. So this is a macro look at performance and performance by channel. And then we get into sharing more specific performance on the content assets that we are promoting, includes some consumption metrics, as well as the marketing tactics as well. And so when we're meeting with our clients weekly, we start here. We start with the performance, and then we get into the schedule and talk about next steps and where we're going from there. We also, when we're proposing these solutions, or this solution in particular, to our new customers, we're very upfront and honest with them to help them understand what it's going to take for this type of solution to be successful for them. And we have had conversations where we've just agreed between the parties that it's probably not the right time. And it's not that we don't want to waste our time. We just want to preserve the quality, but also the performance that we're going to expect in order for it to be a successful effort. And so we'll usually flesh that out early on in the meetings that we have with them. But yeah, that's more or less it in a nutshell. I think like I said, we've been kind of really thinking about internally how can we create more flow customers, and how do we get this solution out there to more of our clients. And I think a lot of it really kind of stems from how we're developing the relationships with those advertisers, but also kind of queuing them up. We may be selling different types of solutions to them, or one-offs that might be a good indicator that in the months, or possibly in the year to come, that we can get them to a point where we can really sell them on this type of solution and develop a more active relationship with those customers. So that those are the basics.
Well, thank you, Jonathan. That's great. And when you mentioned the program you did, where you overproduced and were able to get another check for that sounds like a pretty high margin at $47,000 you brought in, since you did nothing incremental for it except process the payment.
Yeah.
That's nice. I'm sure those don't come along often enough. One thing I had a question, because the reason we wanted to have both of you talking today was, there were the two sides of lead gen. One is for our salespeople and one is for the client salespeople. And I spent more of my life on Lisa's side of the business, but I have had some experience running some businesses that are really media businesses and doing what you're doing, Jonathan. But I was wondering, you showed at one point a target with 1.5 million impressions going down to whatever, 468 qualified leads or whatever. With your clients, do you, when I'm doing that for me internally, I'm not stopping at qualified leads. I'm looking at sales and lifetime value. Obviously, you can't do that on your own with clients, but do you try to drill down to that level? Is it possible to do that with clients? Do you find, is that a worthwhile, incremental effort?
I think we try to maintain just an open and honest relationship with these customers and are constantly prying to understand the value that is being created on their end from the qualified leads that we're providing. The most active customer that we have with this solution has told us on a number of occasions that the investment that they've made for the level or how they're internally scoring or valuing an opportunity in the pipeline is better than any other partners that they're working with. And so they're also our largest customer with this solution, but to get that kind of feedback and to know that they want to keep it as an active part of their feeding their sales pipeline, I think is very encouraging. Another client of ours in a kind of a performance wrap-up meeting that we had with them in the third quarter of last year, they were sharing just kind of their general feedback towards the end of the call. And the market that we worked with closely to manage the campaign, he said that he was just overly excited about the results. And what was interesting, and I think it really just speaks to when you can get it right, when you can get the model right with the nurturing, where you're going after the right folks and you're helping to develop interest and demand, that it can really produce results. So I think their campaign, the MQLs that we delivered were somewhere around 300, which, if we do a webinar, we're going to generate 300 registrants or attendees pretty easily. But this campaign had developed 300 MQLs that they were able to attribute 2 of those 300 to, it was north of $200 million in sales. They didn't say it was directly attributable, but the fact that they were connected to those sales was huge. And so, and even from the outset of that call, they reinforced the value that they got from this type of solution and how they were looking for all of their partners to really step up and provide those types of strategies to more effectively market. So we're just upfront and are always inquiring about what are you doing with the leads? How are they working for you? Should we be targeting different folks from our audience, or really thinking about smarter ways to position new content assets to them?
Yep. And it sounds like certainly in the industries you're in, these clients are sophisticated enough that when you deliver qualified leads to them, they actually know what to do, which is, I know, you can't assume that automatically in lots of industries. We really,
right.
Last media company I was at, School Family Media, we increasingly were getting into marketing services and doing all of that because we'd give them leads and they'd sit and we'd find out, 6 months later, we're getting an email campaign ready to start contacting those people. And so, David, you had a note here, and I'd rather have you voice that rather than me read it, if you like.
Though, just on the discussion, Jonathan, that interaction, how often with those best clients you have, is that like a weekly touch with those people saying, what are you seeing? How is this? We noticed that kind of thing. Is that kind of the cadence of what you're doing?
It is, in most cases, it's weekly or bi-weekly at the
Yep.
at the most, but it holds each party accountable for what we need to do. We're very open and upfront with them when we feel like we're starting to exhaust a content asset. We need something fresh. We'll work to either get something new from them if they have something available, or discuss co-developing an asset so that we can maintain performance throughout.
Sure. And the question I posted for everyone was just sort of a more theoretical thing, but we're doing some experimenting now with a new product we're launching April 1st. And one of our salespeople is thinking about sort of partnering with other publishers in sort of a shared content mode, so that we can become mutual additional source channels, I guess you would say, like sort of a win-win model. And it's difficult. I'm not describing it very well, so you can see the sales problem with trying to get people engaged in this. But I just wondered if anybody's done that, especially with all the good friends we have on this call, people we've known, for a long time. Just we're all looking for sources to add to that, the impressions and lead flow around the edges, and maybe some partnerships might be a possibility.
Yeah, I love that idea. I haven't done anything like that, but really it's the same concept as, exchanging lists with competitors.
Yeah.
They don't just buy your products and only buy from you. They buy other things, and we can make the pie bigger for everybody. I mean, it seems kind of obvious when you mention it, David. So good luck with that. I look forward to hearing you report back on how that
Yeah.
goes.
Well, hopefully it'll be somebody that Debbie can describe it better than I just did. But anyway, yeah. Thanks, Ed.
Anything else? Thoughts, questions? Oh, Helen, you had mentioned, I'm sorry, Netline, and I see Jennifer Schwartz has already responded.
Yeah, and I can add to that. We have started using Netline, as Jen mentioned, over the last few months, and we use Netline in particular with these flow campaigns now. One of the points,
Can you describe
Helen,
briefly what Netline does for those of us that aren't familiar?
well, the agreement, sure. Netline, for us it's a more efficient technology for positioning
White
assets
papers, yeah, things like that.
assets that you would want to collect leads off of. They've got a model where you can get extension reach off of those assets as part of their network. You can also, as a publisher, generate some revenue off of other assets within their network that might be positioned in the experience that you're presenting to your own audience. So we're using it for both scenarios, and specifically with these campaigns that we run, we'll use it for lead capture. Their reporting with the technology is very robust, and it gives us a lot of control for managing the quality of the leads that we would kick out with reporting. But the amplification point is an important one, because we have leveraged their services to target specific users within their network to position assets from these types of campaigns across their network on other sites, and it's worked really well for us. Now, the cost can vary depending on how granular you get with the targeting. And in a prior case with us, we were going after a specific geo and specific accounts, and the more criteria that you bake into that, the higher the cost. But we were able to justify that with the CPL the high CPL that we had established with the client. So it worked well. It delivered.
Well, that sounds great. So Helen, you can find Jonathan and Jennifer on Slack too if you need, if you want to follow up. Sounds like there's some learning going on as we speak. And Helen is saying thank you in the chat box. So thanks, Jonathan, for that, and Jennifer. Any other thoughts or discussion questions on lead gen, either internal or external? Anything else? Because I have one other thing we can get to that because I saw on Slack, Andy Cowell posted that note yesterday or 2 days ago about now I'm forgetting who the publisher was. What was the name of the system Jonathan discussed at the end? That's called Netline. Netline. But the Andy Cowell's post was about people finding that over the last year that one publisher finding that free trials were working better for them than paid trials. Although the headline kind of suggested that the article was a little more talking about, well, maybe it would. So the article seemed a little more equivocal than the headline did to me. But it caught my eye because we really don't do free trials at all anymore. We do all paid trials, but we tend to do $1 or $12 for 12 weeks or $90 for 90 weeks. And I'm in a B2C context, so but we tend not to do free trials. And of course, we know Dan Fink is not on the call today, but I know the core of Dan Fink's business, Money Media, which is part of Financial Times, is they do free trials with companies and then follow up with salespeople and do corporate licenses. So that seems to work for them. But on the consumer side, the paid trials seem to work. So I was curious, if people, if they had read the article, but or seen Andy's post, but more, what are you finding is working for getting people from, qualified lead to actually taking that first step and engaging with your products? Anybody have any thoughts or anything on that? Okay, then.
I mean, I can talk. We still do offer trials for sure.
Yeah.
Usually they're, if it's on a weekly, it might be 6 issues free, right? Or a daily, it might be 2 weeks free. We've actually found more success once we have someone as a single subscriber to upsell them to a group or to a site. And we've actually done some metrics lately where we can figure out who are the people engaging most on our websites, and inversely, how many names of those companies do we have in our database? And so if we have a lot of people from one company coming to the website, but we have some names in the database, but they don't have a group, that's a good prospect for us, right? So they're coming, they're engaging with us, but we don't have them. We've just started that B2c model on one of our products. A lot of back and forth internally as to how this was going to work, but offering that 99-cent to trial a paid, and then with the idea that it's 99 cents for a set amount of time, and then you have to automatically auto renew. So it's like 99 cents, and then you have to pay us whatever. So that's just been launched in the last couple of weeks. So I don't really have any info yet, but yeah, it's hit or miss on the trials, Ed. I mean,
Yeah, and Jen, if people didn't see, the magazine is Der Spiegel in Germany, so yeah, and for us, the automatically renewing to full price recurring billing is absolutely a key component of that. Again, in the consumer side, it works very well. It's going to be interesting to see how that works for you, Jen. You can look on that too. And I see David. Yeah, go ahead, David.
Just, I can't speak to the numbers. Lisa maybe can on this one, but I know Lisa and Lucretia and I all have some faith in the fact that weirdly in this lead gen business still a place for sort of book publishing of some sort, whether it's digital or actually mailing out books, because it plays a unique place in the sort of, you know, paid lead, making sure that you're strong on the paid lead sides, no matter
Yeah.
what you're doing on the free content side, you know, so I know book publishing has fallen into much disrespect among, you know, the subscription universe that we all work in, but it still has a lot of power, and particularly when you're dealing with like that Der Spiegel article, and I've seen several other analyses on, is COVID changing the paid versus free lead model. I've read a bunch of stuff about that. I think the answer is still, we got to do it all, and book publishing is still again, Lisa can speak to the numbers. I'm talking more theoretically here, but it feels to me like the conversion rates on those customers still remain near the top, and they're an important part of our lead gen system.
Yep, that's a great point. I know, and we're at time, and I know we're starting to lose people, so I'll wrap it up. But book publishing as part of your marketing program, really, rather than as a product line. And the reality is, the vast majority of books, of nonfiction books out there, it's marketing for people. They're using it to get speaking engagements. They're using it to get consulting. They're, you know, that is the reality, even just in the books that you find on Amazon. And
well, maybe we could end this call, because I wanted to tell you all that I've just published a book called David Foster's Fashion Guide. And
and on that note.
And the price can be at any level, whatever you want to pay. It's worth a lot. That's what I'm going to tell you.
Well, thank you, everybody, and particularly thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Lisa, for really great information. Again, you know, on the Slack channel, and Slack in the marketing channel, if we want to continue the discussion, that's the good place to continue here. We'll see you back next month, and Renewed is constantly adding more programming and looking to be more useful and more relevant. So if you have thoughts on that, please, share them with me, share them on the Slack channel, and we're trying to get, become that much more useful for you. So, and thanks to everybody for attending. We'll see you all next month.